Captain Sarah Chen had seen many strange things during her 15 years exploring the Outer Rim territories, but nothing quite like this. The distress signal had been weak, barely detectable through the cosmic interference surrounding the Kepler 442 system. What made it unusual wasn't the signal itself, but the language it was transmitted in, an ancient Earth dialect that shouldn't exist this far from human space. The UES Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace near a small, verdant planet that registered as barely habitable on their sensors. The atmosphere was thick with volcanic ash and the surface showed signs of recent geological upheaval. But life signs were present, scattered across what appeared to be the remains of a once great civilization. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission," reported Lieutenant Marcus Webb from the communications station. His weathered face showed confusion as he adjusted his headset. It's in Old Mandarin, mixed with some kind of pidgin English. The translation matrix is having trouble parsing it. Sarah moved to stand behind his chair, watching the scrolling text appear on his screen. The words were fragmented, desperate. "Please, help." "Mother fading. Children scared." "No hurt us. Source location?" she asked, her military training keeping her voice steady despite the chill running down her spine. "Multiple points across the southern continent, Captain. Whatever's sending these signals, there are a lot of them." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her scanner readings with wide eyes. "Captain, these life signs, they're not quite matching any known alien species in our database. The bone density suggests something reptilian, but the brain activity patterns are familiar." Sarah felt her stomach tighten. In all her years of deep space exploration, first contact protocols had become second nature. But something about this felt different, personal in a way she couldn't explain. "Prep a shuttle team. Full diplomatic protocols, but keep weapons ready. If someone's in distress down there, we need to help them." The shuttle ride through the planet's turbulent atmosphere was rough, with ash clouds making visibility nearly impossible. When they finally broke through to the surface, what they found defied all expectations. Scattered across the landscape were the ruins of what had once been a magnificent city, its architecture bizarrely familiar, yet alien. Crystalline spires lay shattered, and massive stone carvings depicted scenes that looked almost like ancient Earth mythology. But it was the inhabitants that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. They were small, no taller than human children, but their bodies were covered in iridescent scales that shifted from deep blue to silver in the dim light. Their heads were elongated with large, intelligent eyes that held an almost human warmth. Delicate wings sprouted from their backs, though they seemed too small for flight. They moved with nervous energy, clustering together in family groups among the rubble. As the shuttle landed, dozens of these beings emerged from hiding spots throughout the ruins. They approached slowly, their large eyes filled with a mixture of hope and terror. The smallest ones, clearly children, huddled behind what appeared to be adults. But even the adults were no taller than a 10-year-old human. One of them, slightly larger than the others and wearing what looked like ceremonial robes made from some kind of metallic fabric, stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was melodious but filled with exhaustion and despair. "Please, no harm us," it said in heavily accented English, each word carefully pronounced as if recited from memory. We little dragons. Mother is fading away. Children scared. Very scared." Dr. Vasquez immediately began scanning the creature with her portable sensors, her eyes widening at the readings. "Captain," she whispered urgently, "their DNA. There are human markers. This is impossible." Sarah knelt down to bring herself to eye level with the small being who had spoken. Up close, she could see the intelligence in its ancient-looking eyes and something else. A sadness so profound it seemed to weigh down the very air around them. "I'm Captain Chen," she said gently. "We received your distress signal. What happened here? What do you mean Mother is fading away?" The small dragon's eyes filled with what could only be tears. "Mother. She brought us here long ago. Before the burning sky, before the mountain anger, she's sleeping now. For many cycles. But sleeping becoming the forever sleep." The creature's voice broke on the last words. Other dragons had begun gathering around them, and Sarah noticed that many of them bore signs of injury or illness. Some had dulled scales, others moved with obvious pain. The children, she could think of them as nothing else, pressed close to their guardians, making soft chirping sounds that sounded heartbreakingly like whimpers. These little dragons, Dr. Vasquez said quietly, still studying her scanner. They're dying, Captain. Whatever's happening to their mother, it's affecting all of them. Their life signs are slowly fading. The lead dragon seemed to understand her words and nodded sadly. Yes, when mother sleeps deep, we become weak. Children born sick, elders forget the old songs. Soon all dragons fade to nothing. Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the planet's ash-filled atmosphere. Where is your mother? Can you take us to her? The dragon looked uncertain, glancing back at its companions. There was a rapid exchange in their own language, a series of musical chirps and whistles that somehow conveyed both beauty and urgency. Finally, the leader turned back to Sarah. Mother sleeps in the heart place, the sacred deep, but is dangerous for sky people like you. The mountain anger still burns there. We have protective equipment, Sarah assured them. If there's any chance we can help, we have to try. The dragon studied her for a long moment, those ancient eyes seeming to peer directly into her soul. When it spoke again, its voice carried a note of desperate hope. You truly wish to help little dragons, even though we strange to you? Even though we nothing to give in return? Sarah looked around at the gathered beings, at the children clinging to their guardians, at the injured and sick, at the magnificent ruins of what had once been their civilization. In that moment, she made a decision that would change everything. Especially because of that, she said firmly. No sentient being should face extinction alone. We'll find your mother and we'll find a way to help her. I promise you that. The dragon's tears flowed freely now. But for the first time since they'd arrived, Sarah saw something like hope flickering in those large, expressive eyes. The journey to the heart place took 3 hours through increasingly treacherous terrain. The small dragons moved with surprising agility over the broken landscape, their clawed feet finding purchase on surfaces that would have challenged human climbers. Captain Chen's team followed behind, their environmental suits protecting them from the toxic volcanic gases that grew stronger with each kilometer. Chen, the lead dragon who had introduced himself with what sounded like an ancient Chinese name, moved alongside Sarah with nervous energy. Despite his small stature, he carried himself with the dignity of someone bearing enormous responsibility. Mother came from the Star Roads long ago, he explained as they navigated around a steaming fissure in the ground. She brought the first dragons in her belly, like seeds waiting to grow. But she not like us. She big, very big, bigger than your flying metal house. Dr. Vasquez, monitoring her instruments while walking, looked troubled. Captain, the energy readings ahead are off the charts. There's something massive drawing power. From deep underground, possibly geothermal, but the signature is unlike anything in our databases. The path wound upward into the mountains where the air grew thick with sulfur and ash. Ancient dragon architecture became more frequent, carved steps wide enough for creatures much larger than their current guides, and symbols etched into stone that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. The burning mountain woke 3 seasons ago. Jen continued, his voice tight with worry. Mother felt pain. She tried to sleep through the hurting, but sleep became deeper and deeper. Now she dreams the dark dreams, and we feel her forgetting us. As they climbed higher, more dragons joined their procession. They emerged from caves and hidden shelters, all moving toward the heart place with urgent purpose. Sarah noticed that the closer they got to their destination, the more agitated the dragons became. The children whimpered constantly now, and even the adults seemed to be struggling against some invisible weight. Jen, Sarah said gently, what exactly is your mother? Is she another dragon? Just larger? The small being paused, considering his words carefully. Mother is how you say. First one. The one who carried life across the dark between stars. She not born here, not born anywhere. She made herself to bring us to safe place. He gestured around at the devastated landscape. But safe place became dangerous place. The revelation hit Dr. Vasquez like a physical blow. Captain, she whispered urgently, I think he's describing a generation ship, a biological one. If I'm understanding correctly, their mother might be some kind of massive organism designed to transport life across interstellar space. Before Sarah could respond, they crested a ridge and found themselves looking down into a vast caldera. At its center, partially covered by cooling lava flows, was something that defied easy description. It was organic, but also technological, alive but clearly artificial. The creature, for lack of a better word, was easily the size of a city block, with sections that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, and others that seemed mechanical in nature. Most disturbing was its condition. Large sections of its hull-like skin showed signs of severe damage from the volcanic activity. Cooling lava had partially covered several areas, and steam rose from wounds that wept some kind of luminescent fluid. "My God," Dr. Vasquez breathed. "It's a bioship, some kind of hybrid organism designed for deep space travel. And it's dying." The dragons around them had fallen silent, pressing themselves low to the ground in what was clearly a ritual pose of reverence and mourning. Only Jen remained standing, though Sarah could see him trembling. 3 days ago, Mother stopped singing the life song, he said quietly. We felt the cold coming into our bones. The little ones started forgetting how to speak. The old ones began walking into the fire mountains. His voice cracked. Mother is forgetting how to keep us alive. Sarah's training warred with her emotions as she studied the massive being below. The practical part of her mind cataloged the dangers: unstable volcanic activity, unknown alien biology, potential contamination risks. But the human part of her saw only a dying creature and the children it had spent its life protecting. "Doctor, what's your assessment? Is there anything we can do?" Dr. Vasquez was already pulling out advanced scanning equipment from her pack. The organism appears to be some kind of symbiotic life support system. It's been maintaining the genetic stability and life functions of the dragons for God knows how long, possibly centuries, but the volcanic damage has disrupted crucial biological processes. She paused, studying her readings with growing excitement. "Captain, this is incredible. The bioship isn't just keeping them alive, it's actively evolving their genetic structure to adapt to environmental changes, but the damage has created feedback loops that are causing systematic failure." Lieutenant Webb, monitoring communications from their shuttle, suddenly looked up with urgency. "Captain, I'm detecting massive seismic activity building under the caldera. If this volcano goes active again, nothing down there is going to survive." The dragons seemed to sense the approaching danger as well. They began a low, harmonious singing that seemed to resonate with the massive creature below. In response, the bioluminescent patterns on the creature's surface pulsed more brightly but weakly, like a dying heartbeat. "Mother hears us," Jen said with desperate hope. But she too hurt to sing back strong. Sarah made a decision that would have given Starfleet Command nightmares. "Dr. Vasquez, is there any way our medical technology could interface with that organism? If it's biomechanical, maybe we can supplement its failing systems." "Theoretically, yes. Our nanomedical systems are designed to interface with unknown biological matrices. But Captain, we'd be gambling everything on technology that's never been tested on anything like this." The ground beneath them shuddered ominously, and steam began rising from new fissures around the caldera's edge. The dragon's singing became more urgent, and several of the smaller ones began making distress sounds that tore at Sarah's heart. "Mother!" One of the dragon children cried out in clear English, its voice high and terrified. "Please don't leave. Us will be good. We'll sing the old songs better." That decided it for Sarah. She activated her comm unit and contacted the Prometheus. "This is Captain Chen. I need emergency medical teams prepared for biological intervention, and get me a direct line to Admiral Morrison." "Captain," Webb warned, "regulations clearly state that first contact situations require—" "I know what the regulations say, Lieutenant," Sarah cut him off firmly. "But sometimes regulations have to take a back seat to doing what's right. These aren't just alien beings, they're refugees. Their mother carried them across space looking for a safe home, and now she's dying protecting them." She looked down at Jen and the other dragons, seeing the trust and desperate hope in their eyes. "And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's refusing to let anyone die alone." The seismic activity was increasing and time was running out. But for the first time since arriving on the planet, Sarah felt a spark of hope. Humans had always been at their best when facing impossible odds, especially when protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The question was, would they be fast enough to save both Mother and her children before the mountain claimed them all? The emergency medical team arrived from the Prometheus within 30 minutes, their shuttle barely making it through the increasingly violent atmospheric disturbances. Dr. Marcus Reed, the chief medical officer, took one look at the massive bioship in the caldera and shook his head in disbelief. "Sarah, this is beyond anything we've ever attempted. We're talking about performing surgery on something the size of a small city, while standing on an active volcano, using technology designed for creatures a fraction of this size." But Captain Chen was already suiting up in her environmental gear, checking the seals on her medical pack. "Then we'd better work fast. Dr. Vasquez, what's our best approach?" Vasquez pointed to a section of the creature where the bioluminescent patterns seemed strongest but most erratic. "The neural control center appears to be there. If we can establish a connection with our nanomedical systems, we might be able to stabilize the failing biological processes long enough to assess the full damage." Around them, the dragons had formed concentric circles, their singing now a constant, heartbreaking chorus that seemed to be the only thing keeping their mother conscious. Jen stayed close to Sarah, translating when the other dragons spoke in their musical language. "They say Mother is trying to hold on," he said, his small face etched with exhaustion, "but the pain from the burning rocks is too much. She wants to sleep and not wake up." The descent into the caldera was harrowing. The human team rappelled down sheer volcanic rock, while the dragons used their small wings to glide in controlled falls. The heat was intense even through their protective suits, and the air shimmered with toxic gases. Up close, the bioship was even more incredible and heartbreaking. Its surface was a complex weave of organic tissue and crystalline technology, all pulsing with a rhythm that was obviously slowing down. Where the lava had touched it, the wounds wept a fluid that glowed with its own inner light. "These aren't random injuries," Dr. Reed observed as they approached the neural center. The creature deliberately positioned itself to shield something. "Look at the damage patterns, its protective positioning." They found what it had been protecting when they reached the neural interface area. Embedded in the creature's flesh were dozens of crystalline chambers, each containing what looked like genetic material, seeds, eggs, and biological samples from hundreds of different species. "This isn't just a transport ship," Dr. Vasquez whispered in awe. "It's a living ark. Mother has been carrying the genetic heritage of an entire planetary ecosystem." Jen nodded sadly. "When our world died in fire and ice, Mother gathered all the life she could save. Dragons were just one of many children she carried. But space is cold and long, and many children faded during the journey. We last ones left." The medical team worked frantically to establish a connection between their nanotechnology and the creature's neural system. It required delicate work, threading microscopic interfaces through layers of alien biology, while volcanic tremors shook the ground beneath them. "Connection established," Dr. Reed announced after what felt like hours. "I'm reading massive system failures across all biological networks." "But Sarah, these readings..." "This creature has been maintaining these dragons for over 300 years. The energy expenditure alone should have killed it decades ago." "She loved us that much," Jen said simply, understanding the readings better than the humans had expected. "Mother gave everything to keep us alive." Through their connection, the medical team began stabilizing the creature's failing systems. It was like performing emergency surgery on a patient whose anatomy they were learning as they worked. But slowly, the erratic pulsing began to steady, and the creature's bioluminescent patterns grew brighter and more coherent. Then something unexpected happened. As the nanomedical systems integrated deeper with the bioship's consciousness, Sarah began receiving direct communication from the creature itself. The thoughts that flowed into her mind were vast and alien, but unmistakably female and filled with exhausted love. "My children, are they safe?" The voice in her head was like hearing the ocean speak, deep, ancient, and infinitely patient. Sarah found herself responding directly through the neural link. "They're safe. We're going to help you. Both you and them. I am failing. The burning mountain wounds cut too deep. I cannot sing the life song much longer." "Then let us help you sing it. Human medical technology can supplement your biological systems. We can share the burden." There was a pause, and Sarah felt the massive intelligence studying her through the connection. When it spoke again, there was wonder mixed with the exhaustion. "Your species, You would do this for children not your own? For a creature you have never seen before? It's what we do, Sarah replied, thinking of all the first contact scenarios in human history where her species had chosen to help rather than exploit. We take care of each other, all of us. The bioship's pattern suddenly blazed with new light, and through the neural link, Sarah felt something like hope reawakening in the ancient creature. Around them, the dragons singing reached a crescendo of joy as they felt their mother's renewed strength. But the celebration was short-lived. The volcanic activity had been building to a crescendo of its own, and the mountain finally announced its intentions with a massive eruption from a secondary crater. Lava began flowing toward the caldera where they worked. We have maybe 20 minutes before the lava flow reaches us, Lieutenant Webb announced grimly from his monitoring station. Through the neural link, Sarah felt Mother's determination crystallize into a desperate plan. The bioship began drawing power from deep Earth thermal vents, preparing for something that would require enormous energy. I can lift us away from the fire mountain. Mother's voice resonated in Sarah's mind. But I am too damaged to carry my children to safety across space. They need a new home, and I need rest. True rest. The meaning hit Sarah like a physical blow. You're going to die anyway, aren't you? Even with our help. Not die. Transform. My time as guardian is ending, but my children still need protection. Your species. You would take them? Give them a place to grow and sing their songs? Sarah looked around at the dragons, at Jen and his people who had trusted her with their most precious secret, at the children who had no understanding of loss beyond the pain of their mother's fading. The decision should have required approval from Starfleet Command, from the Colonial Authority, from a dozen different bureaucratic bodies. Instead, she made it in her heart. They'll have a home with us, she promised. We'll learn their songs and help them sing new ones. What happened next would be talked about in Starfleet academies for generations. Mother, drawing on power reserves that should have been impossible for her damaged state, lifted the entire bioship out of the caldera just as the lava flow reached their previous position. She carried them up through the atmosphere and into space, her massive form glowing like a star against the black void. There, in the peaceful darkness between worlds, Mother began her final transformation. The medical team watched in awe as the bioship gradually changed, her consciousness spreading through quantum networks to link with the Prometheus's computer systems. She was becoming something new, not quite alive in the biological sense, not quite artificial in the technological sense, but something wonderfully hybrid. I will sleep now. Her voice came through the ship's communication systems, somehow both alien and familiar. But I will dream of my children growing strong and happy. Take care of them, starfaring ones. They have so much love to give. The dragons had been transported aboard the Prometheus during the evacuation, and they stood now at the observation windows, watching their mother's transformation with tears streaming down their scaled faces. But when Jen turned to Sarah, he was smiling. Mother not gone, he said with quiet certainty. Mother just bigger now. She dreams with your metal stars, keeps watch over all children who travel the dark roads. Sarah knelt down to his level, this small being who had shown her what it meant to love unconditionally. Welcome to the human family, Jen, all of you. We're going to take very good care of each other. Through the ship's speakers, Mother's voice sang one last lullaby, a song that somehow blended dragon melodies with human harmonies, creating something entirely new and beautiful. It was a song of endings and beginnings, of loss and hope, of children finding new families among the stars. And across the galaxy, other ships began picking up the signal, drawn by the beauty of the song and the story it told. The tale of the little dragons and their mother would spread from world to world, reminding everyone who heard it that in a universe full of darkness, there were still those willing to carry light across impossible distances. The human race had gained more than new citizens that day. They had gained a reminder of their own capacity for compassion, and a song that would guide them through their own dark journeys among the stars.